Here.
Markelier,
Here.
McKee,
Here.
Watson,
Here.
and Braccio.
Here.
So that should be our quorum of 7, and we have 2 ex officios here. So on to the first item on the agenda. So the last meeting we had, our homework was to review 3 chapters: open space, natural resource and recreation, circulation and transportation, and housing. And did everyone get a chance to look those over?
Yep, I'm usually the laggard, but I actually did do that. So
Very good, Sam. You'll
I'm
get
trying to
a
reform.
little virtual gold star for the day.
very tiny one. It took
So
an
Judith-
intervention by Judith to get me to do that, but she's very
Huh?
effective. It took an intervention by Judith to get me to do that, but she's very effective.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll have her work with me to get the tree bylaw done.
I can do interventions.
So do you think we should pull up each chapter and?
Yeah, if you, Sarah, I don't know if you can, in
You're all set.
the prep folder,
Oh,
for the prep folder for the, in the shared drive, are you able to get to that?
I should be able to get to that. Yeah.
Actually,
Do you
Sarah,
want-
sorry. I'm going to send you the housing one we tweaked today.
Okay.
That I did not update. I did not update that on the share.
Okay.
What-
Sounds good.
So do you want me to share, Sarah? So
Yeah.
will you
Either
have
way,
troubles if you share?
you know, I was able to share on Monday for the ShopC meeting. So it's sort of like sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. So
All right, so why don't you give it a shot? And
I'll
if
give it a
not,
shot. and
We'll
if
do
I have
plan
any
B.
trouble- That's right. You can be my backup. Navigate out there.
Sarah, I just emailed you the document we touched upon
Perfect.
today.
Thank you.
Looks like we're making good progress with these. Those are, I thought, were well done.
I agree.
I thought they were well done too. I just had a couple of little, tweaky things, but I thought they were very well done. I'm very impressed with this committee.
We'll pat ourselves on the back collectively.
Right.
Well, Sam, as you mentioned at the selectmen's meeting, the last master plan cost the town like $100,000.
Yep.
And we've done this pretty much all volunteer work with the
Grant money.
small grant was like 10K from
Yep.
that we
I
had
don't-
to do a matching for MAPC.
Our match was 10 grand.
I believe so.
Yeah, something pretty small
Lordy, lordy.
and overpriced at that.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. I think I have got it up. Well, I have open. Oh, wait a minute. No.
So while you're trying to pull that up, let me just kind of set the scene here. So these are the current version of the chapters, apart from anything that Tom's worked on today. And what I've done is I've taken the edits or the requests, the comments from everybody that gave me them, and I've consolidated them into this current version. So maybe we'll start with open space, because I think that's probably got
Okay.
the fewest.
Okay. It
I think
looks-
most of the, can you do that? Can you see
I
it?
think
Yeah.
I can. Yes.
So this
Right.
is,
Can
okay.
you see it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so can we take off the, why is that? Can we take off the tracking Can you do that in the shared drive?
You can,
'Cause
you can
this is
close the
gonna
reviewing
be-
pane.
Yeah, this is going to be
Mm,
no.
Yes,
I think it's better if you download it instead of working off of the Google Share.
yeah, that's true. Let me just wondering if I could just shut it off though, then.
Yeah, but you're no longer in Word. I think you're in some Google thing.
No,
Yeah,
I'm in
you
the
know what?
Google
I'm
Drive.
just wondering whether the simplest way to do this, sorry, Sarah, the simplest way to
Yeah.
do this is for me to share the master document. Because
Okay,
in the master document, all of the updates should be, hang on a sec.
integrated.
Sorry, I've been out all day, so I'm not very prepared for this. Let me just, master
And
plan.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn off the track changes in Google Docs.
Maybe
Yeah,
you can't.
the Google Docs, I have to say, I so admire Kat and Karen because they seem to be like really good at doing it. I'm like useless at it. So let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, that is better. Let me just make it bigger for Sam.
I think that was said with love, by the way.
It was said lovingly. Okay, so this is open space, natural resources, and recreation. So what I've done is in this version is accepted all of the deletes and edits, but you can see with this, with the, I think it's purple text, the net result of those inserts and edits. So, and then the other thing that we've done is, or I've done at Sam's suggestion, I think it was a really good one, was to use the line numbering so that at any point we can say, okay, you know, line 15, we want to update so that when we go back and either, you know, Kate makes the notes or we can listen to the recording, it's much easier to follow it. So there were some kind of what I refer to as wordsmithing, tweaking on these introductory paragraphs. The other thing that we've done in this version is that Kat did is to create the hyperlinks. Now this is the only chapter that we actually have. Is that me? With the feedback? No. This is the only chapter at the moment that we've got the hyperlinks created. But we will be adding the hyperlinks into the newer versions. And then the other thing that's I have all sorts of little notes in a separate folder that what I call the logistical notes of things that we need to do just to within the final document. And Sam made a really good point that we need to put page numbers on all of these. So that will be done for all of these chapters. So there's a few little edits on the introduction. I am actually still waiting for, Kristen's not on tonight, is she?
I saw her earlier at a school committee meeting, so I don't know if she's going to be available.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's still some things that I need Kristen to follow up for us, but I will try and speak to her separately on those.
Hey, Sam, wasn't it 99% of the community wanted the pool?
I thought it was 99.8.
Thank you. I knew it was
Close,
a number.
close.
But we have put it in there.
There are two people in town
Get
who
an
can't swim,
explanation.
so they didn't vote for it.
I mean, I
Others
do
have.
remember seriously in an earlier meeting that, you know, Kristen did articulate the you know, the rationale from the Tim and the Recreation Commission as to why it's not in the master plan. And I just want to make sure we've got it in there so that, you know, people might not agree with it, but at least it's going to be in there.
Good.
Now there's a little, I think green was me. So select board of selectmen. Can we change it to select board now, or do we have to wait, Sam?
I think we can. I don't know if Lisa has a different view of that.
No, I agree, Sam. I mean, I've changed it. It's actually changed on the town website already. I noticed that today. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
changing it here is certainly in line.
Okay,
think so, I
perfect.
think so,
Because that's easy enough to do. That's just to find and replace. So, okay. Where are we going? I need to insert a map here. Okay, so all of these comments have been added by me, but what you'll see like this is a comment that came from Sam. And I think you'd wanted to tweak the wording around vacant land, Sam.
Yeah, I can't remember this, and let me look here.
So the original language that
Oh,
came out for the 2008 report was not permanently protected, privately owned and or underdeveloped land. And I think you were just suggesting wording it, changing
Yes.
the wording slightly.
I didn't think the original wording made perfect sense, and so I actually looked up someplace what a definition of vacant land is, and that's where that
Oh,
language
okay.
came from.
Yeah, these definitions came straight out of the 2008 report, which of course
Okay.
doesn't mean to say they're right, but okay. So
Judith,
Yeah.
have we missed an organization here in town that does do or helps with open space? In other words, trustees of reservations. I noticed they're not mentioned.
They are.
Where?
Any other organizations?
Well, Sudbury Valley trustees, yada, yada, yada.
Is there another section for orgs? I forget, under like not, or were they all gathered in or
it's
collected?
in that
I know I
two-
saw them because I changed the name from trustees of reservations to trustees, which they've changed their name.
Well, they are mentioned in this open space acquired since 2008 chart. But
Oh.
Okay, I'm not I think you're actually right. I'm not sure we've actually got a definition. So let me add that in. It's
Certainly should
definitely
be
in the
included.
table, Mimi. That's where you've seen it. I know.
Oh,
it's in the
okay.
Table.
Good call, Bill.
And so just so everyone's, I'm not sure if I ever got back to you on this one, Mimi, but the trustees of the reservation are still legally called the trustees of the reservation.
Oh, okay.
A good friend of mine just happens to be the vice chair of the board. What they've done a lot of is rebranding just to trustees. So their website is referred to as trustees and all of their signage is trustees, but they are still called the trustees of the reservations.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah.
good.
I
Thank
didn't
you.
know that either. So I'm like, oh, here you go. So I will add that in. Map. We tweaked the golf course now being owned by the town. So Sarah, this is one that I meant to talk about yesterday with you. This one here about calculating open space loss since 2008. Are we going to be able to do that or not?
I don't. I'm not sure.
Well, before you answer that, what's the calculation for the net gain? Are we just talking about total acreage and then and now? And that would be the percentage?
One way to do it, certainly.
And is
'Cause
it
it's-
open space lost or is it vacant land developed?
It says open space on 132.
But by definition, is an open space protected?
Yeah, I think that's kind of some of the struggle, with what's the real measurement, and then that measurement is sort of granular, but
I think it has to be protected land. I mean, vacant lot is not, in my view, necessarily valuable for the town unless it's protected. And there's another dimension of it that you could say, undeveloped land out there that is not protected, but could be developed. That's another interesting number.
Right. Yeah.
I think we start with what's protected and how has that changed over time. I can't believe that we've lost any protected land.
No.
But hopefully we picked some up. So, but not a whole lot, I would think. I don't know. Maybe can you think of parcels? I mean, the Halloran property.
Well, Halloran and the golf course.
Yep, that's good. Yeah. So we got at least 55, we've got 75 acres there between those two roughly.
So maybe the easiest way to do it is just to go back. No, because I don't think we had the inventory of open space. Does the open space, Kat, I don't know, you might know this. Does the OSRP list every single piece of open space? Do you know?
I don't know if it does, but it really should. Can I say that? I don't know.
Okay, you know what I think I will do?
I'm happy to
here?
hunt that down if it's helpful.
You know what? Why don't I have to go into the townhouse tomorrow and talk to Melissa, and that's the sort of data point that Melissa might say, oh yeah, deep in her archives they have something on that. Let me talk to Melissa about what we might have so that we can at least get some sort of order of magnitude statement on that.
And I have the list of subdivisions and site plans since 2008. So,
Right.
so
That's what I was kind of thinking, is that if Melissa's got in her archives some sort of, okay, this is what the open space that was the total open space in 2008, and we know what's now been approved for site plans, we can just eyeball it and say, is there anything material here that's been kind of developed? I think that might be a kind of a start point.
Judith, it's Lisa. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would it make more sense to say during this same period, XX acres of, instead of open space, say priority parcels were lost to development? Because I think that's how it's listed in the OSRP. Isn't that how it's listed, Mimi? As priority
Oh,
parcels?
it might be. Oh, that's another way to start, is to look at the priority parcels from the last open space and rec plan.
What's the
And
priority?
I could tell to look at it, what's been developed from the previous OSRP.
Oh, from like the one in 2000, whenever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I can look at that and
Okay.
see what I can come up with.
Just let me make sure I save this as a different version. Okay, so that is there. Okay, this one is still an open question. We can maybe talk about it now. So this was a table that was in the 2008 plan, which is temporarily protected open space in Southborough. There is nothing in this narrative that speaks to chapter 61 or 61A or 61B. So I don't know whether or not we want to include this. Is it something that is kind of meaningful to us? I know at one point Freddie was trying to, concerned about chapter 61, but there's nothing in this chapter right now that speaks to it, other than I put the table back in because we hadn't made a decision about it.
I would think that all the chapter 161 property would be listed as priority parcels in the open space and rec plan.
I think so too, Mimi.
And what does a priority parcel mean?
Priority for protecting.
Mimi, who defined that?
Who defined?
You mean this was in the last plan that was done, or one that was done as part of the Open Space Commission group?
The open space and recreation plan.
Okay.
I know the previous one defined all chapter 61 properties as priorities for protection.
Mhm.
And that's a figure that can be easily, I can easily update that by just asking the assessors. They keep track of what's in 61.
What does table 51 tell us as part of this
Well, it tells us what's out there that's receiving a tax benefit for not developing their property.
Right.
And I think
But
too,
in
Bill-
in the
sorry.
context of our discussion, and specifically with respect to some of the objectives that we're setting out here, how does that particular chart fit into this? I'm wrestling with it. I don't know the answer to it.
I mean, I guess that
Well,
But
one
this
of the
is
goals is
because
to protect
it's, yeah.
open
it's
space. And
protected.
these are some parcels that I think are deemed worth protecting.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So we're
I
basically
think
looking
in
at,
this- I think it's contextual. It's basically saying we still have, almost 3,000 acres that's protected.
Well, that's the old chart, isn't it? Is
Yeah,
that a
this
new
is the
chart?
old chart. So that's where I think
So it's
what
less
would be
than
good to
that.
say is what would be good to say is has it materially changed since 2008? Because if it's materially changed since 2008, it's like something's going wrong somewhere. Because in 2008 that was a key goal, was around protecting open space, and it still is in 2021.
well, we certainly lost some agricultural land.
Yeah.
Right.
Dairy Farm Estates pops into my head.
Mm-hmm.
Former dairy farm estates.
Hmm?
Former dairy farm estates.
Oh, that's what it's called, Dairy Farm
I know,
Estates.
but it's formerly a dairy farm. Now it's estates.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the insult to injury.
The point.
Name it after what it used to be.
So let's look at the current versus 2008 and see what the delta is, and then think about the narrative. Because if it has reduced, it's like, if the goal is to protect open space, it's like, what do we need to do to not let that land be lost? I mean, I think it's like a number of these charts. It's like you have to kind of look at trend, and you have to look at change in the last, decade or so to know whether or not it's actually telling a story that's relevant. So I take your point, Bill, and because we have tried really hard not to include data for the sake of it, certainly on something like economic development, I kind of took a red pen to various charts because it's like, it's a chart. It's simply not that relevant to what we're doing in terms of the, the overall focus of the chapter and the recommendations. But
Judith, for this one, maybe what we do is have the 2008 and the 2020 data on the same chart.
yeah. I mean, or just do something that just shows change over time. But yeah, let's look at the comparisons there.
So I can get that.
Okay, thank you, Mimi. Well, oh, this was just Mimi, you'd asked about the stewardship committee managing the town forest. That was a note from Kat. It does oversee, but the charge didn't mention it, so that will get updated. Okay, objectives, goals, and recommendations. Okay, so here's where there's some comments. I think most of these are from Debbie. So Debbie, you were suggesting here that we might want to expand that objective or that recommendation to cover not just signage for dogs, but to improve signage in general.
Yeah, well, I just, as a new person to the committee, reading this for the first time, to me, it just sort of came out from somewhere. And I wondered if this is really for additional signage for in general, or is the goal or the recommendation just specifically for dogs?
I will speak a little bit to that. I think we do need specific signage for dogs. That is lacking in Southborough, but always open to more signage if needed in general for trails. But I think specific to this is that it does need to be, because Southborough is in a watershed and because most land is owned by, the trails are owned by DCR, it's their requirements, not ours. So we have to make it clear.
Okay.
Kat,
So
there,
okay, just to leave that as it is. I mean, I think if there's specific examples of signage that needs to be improved, Debbie, we can certainly add it in, but that never came up when we were talking. In fact, it's interesting. I've been doing leading some walking groups around the Burrows Loop, and a couple of the people who weren't from our town basically said, "Oh my gosh, you've got really good signage here. The notice, the signboards, and the blazes that cover the different trails." Now, granted, they came from a part of Massachusetts that doesn't have a lot of doesn't have a lot of, trails like this, but so.
Kat, I have a question when we have, if we're finished with that discussion. OS 2.5 for recommendations.
Yeah.
Do you really want to say ADA compliant?
Why not? There's an opportunity to make a section of the new Peninsula Trail ADA compliant.
And by ADA compliant, we mean either a hard surface or a crushed stone, right?
Yeah, it's paved.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, we could, if you wanted to improve upon this, establish ADA compliant trails and parking where possible, something that's a little more specific, because we wouldn't want to insinuate that we're going to be able to convert all of our wooded, dirt paths to concrete, for example. It's only where it makes sense to do so, but we want to try to encourage it so we have more resources for all abilities. Does that
Say where appropriate?
Yeah.
Possible,
Yeah,
we could spend a lot of money. So
Where appropriate or where possible? Where appropriate.
I mean, one could also say establish ADA or and then make some sort of reference to providing access to disabled without going the full length of going ADA, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And that way you'd have the ability, along with the way the Forest Service does it, they have trails that are not strictly ADA compliant, but they have rest areas every certain points, things of that nature that would suffice for people who have some degree of disability without going the full boat type of thing on that.
Just curious about your concern about the full, saying the full ADA compliant. Is it the complexity of initiating that type of project, or is it I'm just curious about your.
I think I think it's the expense of doing it. In other words, here's a situation where, in fact, we may be trying to get the perfect, and it's obstructing the good that we want to try to accomplish here.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, that makes sense.
And it becomes expensive to put hard surfaces in and all sorts of other things of that nature. It also could drag the ADA committee into all sorts of discussions, which with respect to your organizations and others, that probably is unnecessary at this stage of the game.
Maybe we could say establish ADA compliant or more accessible trails and parking.
That would be something like that would be perfect. Yeah.
Expense doesn't make me afraid if it's worthwhile. Does it, I of course we don't even have a budget, so I understand what that means.
Easy for you to say. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't want expense to be a reason, an obstacle that we don't try to create more opportunities. And I don't think that's what you're saying either. I think you're saying watch what you're saying and be careful about what you're promising.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, if in fact the town has that kind of money, then I believe we should do that sort of thing with every single trail we have, assuming that in fact it doesn't disturb the conservation issues associated with the land that it goes through.
Totally agree. Balance for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I do not want to pave the existing paths in Southborough, just for the record.
Right. Pave the parking, pave it over the parking lot. All right.
Okay. So next one, I think Debbie, you were suggesting a recommendation.
Yeah, I guess because I just watched the planning board meeting and they had Lucas Environmental come out and talk about, the encroachment onto the open space. And so I was just wondering if we want to put any kind of a recommendation in there, or maybe it's signage, a no dumping or something like that. And I was impressed by their presentation, and I think that they've done it a couple of years now. Is that a recommendation for this goal? I mean, I think I was also struck that it wasn't just grass clippings and things like that. I think there was like contractor waste and stuff that they were showing. So, what to do about that? Is there a possible recommendation in there?
I mean, is that are you talking about a violation or something that is approved by the city to do? I mean, how does that work?
Typically encroachment.
Violation.
Violation of open space. People who are abutting open space sometimes will, dump stuff into the open space, and planning board and others actually do enforce that from time to time, maybe not perfectly.
Well, planning board doesn't enforce anything.
Building department, whoever.
Yeah.
In one case, I guess the Concom, Judith, had a case over on somewhere, can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, we do
Roswell
it
or
on
someplace that somebody had built a shed. Prior owner built a shed on protected land, and new people bought it and discovered that the shed was in the wrong place, and so they worked out a deal to make the shed go away eventually. But those kind of things, again, seem to me to be a worthy goal to somehow review and enforce.
Okay, then I will add that in.
I like the community.
Say again?
I like as a goal in collaboration with stakeholders and the community.
Yep, I like that too. That doesn't mean we can't, though, put additional language in somewhere.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that's the, so I'm sorry, I didn't have it. This would be an extra recommendation under this, so it would be like 3.6.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe,
based upon our comments, is there anything that we want to add here concerning enforcement? Or not? Or is that just to assume that we will enforce what we say should be done?
there are mechanisms in place for enforcement. Whether we follow through or not is another issue, but there are avenues for enforcement for these things. So I think it's enough simply to say something like establish or reinforce the importance of assuring that open space is protected from encroachment, and inspect periodically and follow up as appropriate or something like that. Too many words, but that's the idea.
Mhm.
Okay, let me wordsmith that and I'll throw it out back to
3.6. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Okay. Right, on to natural resources. A few tweaks here and there. Oh, okay. I left this delete in because this topic is one that's come up on a number of occasions as we've discussed this. So I can't quite remember what the wording was, but this is Sam's suggested change. So the original wording was unlikely to change in the next decade, and
Which was the case when the original plan was done, actually. But there has been, and Kat, I think, would agree, wouldn't you, Kat, that there's been a reasonable change in terms of flexibility on the part of DCR and MWRA in the last 5 years here.
Yes. Is it necessary to stay, is it too negative to refer to it? Historically, the DCR and MWA policy on access has been very restrictive. I mean, I guess it's true. And MWA opened up aqueduct trails in 2020, opened up their property to more trails and public access. So I guess technically that is true. So I guess there's no
How
problem.
about just more restrictive instead of the,
I just want to be positive, focused
Right.
without,
And yeah, more
had been more restrictive
Yeah.
instead of very, isn't that sunnier?
Hey, I remember their advisory board. I can be critical of. I can throw rocks at them.
You
All they
love
can-
dropping that advisory board
well,
part.
actually, I'm
All they
pretty
can do is fire me.
So, Kat, I think there were some things that were in the right-hand side of this table that moved to the left-hand side.
hunting and trapping comes to mind right away.
Yeah.
Because they opened up hunting 2 years ago at certain sections for deer control.
Yeah, I keep waiting for a resident to get wounded during hunting season. That got to be risky, I would think.
I think they're
They
pretty.
come close to it.
Hunters are pretty responsible.
They try hard. That's true.
Signs all over the place that say wear orange.
Shouldn't wear my target vest out there.
Mhm. My house was hit by a bullet once.
Wow.
Really? But not, you mean in the last couple of years?
Not in the last couple of
By some
years,
road
no.
resident.
No.
That was somebody who was mad at the ADA committee, wasn't it?
I know who did it too.
Okay, so here's this is another suggestion from Deborah. Let me just see if I can do that.
I like that idea.
So Deborah, you were suggesting adding a section on.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which chapter that should go in. And so I didn't know whether I was just seeing this or maybe it was in another chapter or something. But I mean, we do have a bylaw that was voted at annual town meeting in 2019. We're Tree City USA community. I think we're proud of that. And, there's the question of should there be a paragraph that can have some of that information in there?
I think it's a good idea.
Me too. Save the trees, please.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
we need
Mimi,
someone-
the planning board has been talking about a tree canopy bylaw, right?
That's in here as a recommendation. So,
Yeah.
Deborah,
Well-
do you want to have a go at drafting the paragraph then?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Send you
Great.
something.
Yeah, if you can just send, yeah.
Yeah, and then that was one of my recommendations too about a tree policy, but that was before I knew that planning board was going to be doing something.
And I've been working on that indefinitely here for a
Yeah.
while. Now. I think we're making progress.
You finished your chapter on resiliency in schools, Sam. You can
Take
go
anything
on
on.
that one.
I'm not quite finished. Mimi can get that over the finish line with the planning board for at least scenic road trees next week or whatever it comes up here.
Okay.
So that is on the planning board's agenda for Monday.
Karina
To
told
see-
me, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
yet. See if you're willing to do that. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just pick that one up. So is that, so Debbie,
Yeah, that would be accomplished there. Yeah. So is it in the recommendations already?
well, there's a tree canopy protection bylaw. Oh, that is the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's it. Yeah,
okay, see.
that's like the umbrella, right? Is that correct? And there might be some others, might be numerous or something under there.
There's a goal and then individual recommendations. Is the- I don't understand.
N191.9 is part of it. It comes under the goal of, I mean, we put it under the wetland protection stormwater because it was linked to flooding and heat.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have Sam. Recycling. We've talked about this before as well, so
Single-use plastics.
yes.
I can't remember. There was a proposal not long ago at town meeting warrant article to ban plastic bags and so forth. And I actually looked into that. And there is research and there's experience now in California for like 7 or 8 years that as a result of that. And the net result of that is actually negative, it turns out. And that if you do that, that drives people to use bigger, heavier bags instead of the single-use bags. And it drives cardboard and recycling up. And so you wind up actually having a negative impact on the overall, ecosystem by doing that, which I was surprised by, but the research sounds pretty good on that. So I would personally not be in favor of doing that, which is interesting, not what I expected when I started looking into it.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Not
I mean-
reusable bags?
Reusable bags is the solution, as a matter of fact, but people don't tend to do that so much. What they do is they go to other plastic kind of things that are harder to biodegrade even.
Huh.
And paper and cardboard, which you got to get rid of as well. So I'll send you the stuff that I found on that.
Would you circulate that to the committee if others are interested? I'm
Yeah.
interested. Thank you.
Yep, happy to do that.
Sorry if I've spammed y'all now. Sam's doing it.
Certainly willing to discuss more, but my personal vote would be not to do that. That's the kind of thing that sounds good, but
Would it, instead of establishing a goal, could it be to do, this sounds very weak because it's not really action item, but is it to do the proper research to see what steps can be taken to reduce or, effective steps to manage the problem or something to that effect? So we address the issue, but we don't try to solve it with what we don't know.
single process, yeah. And I think that, again, overall, studying recycling, find better ways to do that to motivate behaviors makes a lot of sense. But I mean, now, for example, we're paying more to get rid of stuff that goes to the recycling bins than we do in the pit, and by a modest amount. And so, I mean, it would be cheaper for us to dump everything in the pit, but state law prohibits doing that, and doesn't make a lot of sense either. So, again, there are real problems there that nobody has a very good solution to at this point. And
Sounds like a committee to me.
in the recycle committee, which has been proposed, and I think that's a good idea to get people looking at that. that's something, again, that the Public Works Planning Board could do, should do, if they actually were alive.
We'll
Well,
come
can-
on to that one.
Sam, on that note, with the Public Works Planning Board, I mean, can we add that as a recommendation that they, do something? Are you talking about for looking at the problem of recycling?
Recycling, yeah, could be in their purview, certainly.
Well, and I was a member of the recycling committee way back when, and I left before it disbanded, actually. But I recall when it was disbanded that was the charge that some of these activities would be picked up by the Public Works Planning Board.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Public Works Planning Board is not doing much these days, other than looking at the transfer station fees annually and occasional project stuff. So, but the issue with that group is that they don't report to the select board, appointed by the moderator and the planning board. And so there's really, it's difficult to exert leverage. I'm a member of the Public Works Planning Board, but I'm a veteran of many 4-to-1 votes against things that I'd like to get done there. So it's hard to figure out what you need to do to change that unless the moderator or the planning board appoints different people to that group.
I think you're one of the planning board appointees, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, definitely. That's the only reason I'm on there, because the moderator wouldn't appoint me.
So maybe the planning board should
Consider that next time, yeah.
start leaning on its appointees to see what's going on there.
That would be
Who's
good.
the other one? Sue Baust?
Sue Baust.
Is
Sue
she
Baust
still
is,
on?
Yeah. She's missed the last couple of meetings.
Would it do any good to set some sort of an objective for the planning board to get their tush into gear here on our long-term plan?
I
Well, the
beg your
planning
pardon?
The planning board is generally very helpful. But the planning board, can't push the Public Works Planning Board to do much by
Yeah,
itself.
that's I misused the term. Yes,
But you only have 2 members, so that's still not a majority. Even if Sue and I wanted to do something, you got the moderator appointees who don't seem to be so inclined. So,
well, but all right. But if in fact we have, let's say we have a recommendation within this context of the plan we're putting together here, would that have any impact in several years concerning the actions of that particular board?
I would hope so, but realistically, I would not expect it to. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't know. So
That's disappointing.
I will continue to lobby for personnel change there to take advantage of the opportunity, because I think there are a lot of important issues that group should be addressing. And the group has a very wide statutory charter that was limited 5 years ago by the Board of Selectmen, Select Board. And hopefully, if we had different staffing there, we might be able to take on some of these things.
Let's kind of hold that thought, because it's a reference in Debbie raised that as in the circulation transportation chapter, where hopefully we'll get to tonight as well. Let's just hold that thought, because there's a number of recommendations where in the implementation plan we assign them to the planning board, to the Public Work Planning Board. So maybe there's a way we can kind of link that together and say, get a bit more.
Put a list together and send it to DPW and the Public Works Planning Board. Say, here's projects or activities
Things that you're going to be need to take ownership of. So, and then if they know we can't, then maybe that kickstarts the conversation.
That's, I think, helpful. So I certainly support it.
Okay.
Well, my understanding is if we have objectives or recommendations here, assuming this particular study is approved, then in fact, that within a few years, somebody is going to have to ask whether those objectives have been achieved. Whether that's the town moderator or someone, I'm not sure, but somebody's going to have to step up and say, did you get it done? So
Yeah, but historically, there hasn't been a lot of push on that question. I think that's a great question, but I haven't seen a lot of pressure publicly about the 2008 plan in terms of people asking, why didn't you do this, and follow up action on it.
No, I agree that that's kind of the way things go. But on the other hand, what we've done is we've taken steps here to identify organizations that are responsible for things that we're recommending.
Yeah.
And it does seem like that should, I guess I should use that term, should have some effect. And somebody at some point in time in the future, if we're going to publish this and anyone's going to pay attention to the damn thing, that they should in fact be asking, have we achieved the objectives?
Right. Well, so that's the objective of the implementation plan, that most of the organizations that have responsibility for implementation are represented here. So it's up to each of us to make sure that the entity that we represent fulfills their obligation.
Right, I understand maybe, but it's not just we the individual, we the people of this particular committee. There are committees that aren't represented in this particular case. Who takes responsibility for making sure that they achieve objectives that have been defined here? The town moderator? Is that the way it works?
No.
In this case?
I think we have to decide how we want to do that. And I think that's going to be one that and I know we've talked about it in a number of meetings before, but I think we should bring that back in the new year, because I think I have a view on how that would work. I think others probably do as well. And I think we need to have a kind of a robust, discussion about it. Because in my experience, the only way that it happens is you have people who are specifically responsible for making it happen, and not just, a small group of people who are responsible for making it happen. So can we just table that for another meeting? Because
Let's do it.
to get through, but it's a good point, Bill. It's a very good point. Where are we? Oh, another kind of good suggestion from Deborah, that we maybe need to put something in here around the use of coal and oil. So we've got a recommendation to reduce it, but we don't actually have any data that says how much do we use in the first place. So I don't know. Who would we get that from?
I think John Parent.
John Parent could help us. We ought to reword that a little bit, isn't it? Don't we mean coal/oil-based energy by 50%? And I'd be very interested in terms of what that takes. I mean, based from what I understand at very high level, we use heating oil for a huge amount of stuff, and we use electricity for the remainder of heating, cooling. And I don't know what we do in terms of buying electrical power. The consumer side of the electrical power distribution deal offers an option to buy green energy, if you will. And I can't remember the percentage, but I don't think it's 100% green energy if you want to pay an extra X% on the electric rate that you're paying. So the town has this consolidated electric program that residents can sign up for, and you get a better rate typically than you do from National Grid. And then you can pay more to get green energy source in some proportion. And I don't know if the town actually buys through that deal or not, and if they do, if they buy the green energy version of the thing. But those are numbers that you could look at, certainly. I think
that sounds like an opportunity for us to have some leverage here, because if it's simply a question of changing suppliers, why not?
Could be, and again, has budget implications potentially. I'm interested whether 50% is a realistic number. I have no idea whether there's a chance for that or not, but it would be good to have a number that we think is actually reachable versus some, randomly generated number. I don't know where the 50% came from. Was that in last time's version, or is this something new? I can't remember.
Okay, who's John? Who do we follow?
Parent.
Aaron, he's the
Parent.
facilities director,
PA.
RANTE.
PARENT, I think.
No E?
No E?
I don't think so. I don't know for sure.
I'll find out.
Say again, PAR.
ENT, I think.
Okay, so facilities to review 50% target once current usage. Understood.
Yeah, so
Well, I
this is,
think that's new, this plan. I don't think that was in 2008 at
last
all. Is
time.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where the 50% came from.
It's a good number.
We made it up.
Nice round number.
It is.
In the absence of anything else, we made it up. I
By,
remember talking about it.
by 2050, according to latest things out of the government today, every federal facility is going to be using green energy. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this particular paper, but
well, it's Debbie. On that note, do we have any, I mean, I was thinking about this goal. I was wondering about the 50% too, and wondering how are we going to get there? Does the town have any goals on alternative energies, solar, anything like that? Does that go in this chapter?
Could, but I'm aware of no goals like that.
Wow.
I mean, that's where, if there aren't, I mean, that's where these recommendations start to come to life, because, whoever we've assigned this to, and I can't remember who it is, whether it's DPW or whatever, should be looking at this and going, okay, this is just a recommendation. What they now then have to go off and do is say, okay, well, how are we going to approach it? So it's up to whoever's assigned responsibility for this to start looking at, okay, well, we don't have any goals, let's set, or metrics. We haven't looked at alternatives. So that's what they need to be doing.
Can I suggest that, and I know that you're going to talk to John Parent, but I think on some of these, he has goals as well that tie into some of these. I know like the
Okay.
electric car charging station, he's already working on that with some of the grant money that he's got. So it might be nice if he could actually supply, maybe 5 of the things that he has in his goals that he's working on towards the future that we could incorporate in here too. At least then we'd know some of these things are being worked on as well.
Okay.
right. I agree. I think there's going to be more money here in the next 10 years to deal with green energy, et cetera, that are going to be available to cities as well as individuals to, try to achieve those objectives.
Okay. And this is another question from Deborah, asking boards and commissions to require native plantings as part of site plan approval.
Well, it was just to see if we could strengthen the language, but I think the language is,
I mean, we've actually talked about this at the Conservation Commission, and there's, I think, a view there that the challenge of it is if you start doing this for new site plans, you're then what's the word? You're if you do it for new site plans, but you don't require that for existing property owners, you're actually penalizing people that are making changes, updates to their properties.
Right.
I didn't explain that very well, but unless you have a kind of a global, everyone in the town has to move to native plantings, if you do it through new site plans, you're actually, I can't think of the word, what's the word? you're actually, it's not just penalizing, you're actually calling out a specific group of people and making them do something that the rest of the town isn't required to do.
Right.
So that's where on all of our site plan reviews for Conservation Commission, we actually we strongly recommend the use of native plantings, and we give them a list of what native planting they're doing, but we don't, unless it's a mitigation issue because of encroachment, or we don't say you have to use them.
So that's what I was thinking is, I mean, when a party comes before a board, there's usually some sort of a standard, and that's when you can implement some of these things. But people who have gone before don't get penalized because, you know, you're trying to shape behavior for the future. And it seems like there's a lot of discussion around native planting. So I thought maybe if there's a policy or something that just says, look, this is what Southborough would like, and you can, you know, please follow the policy. It doesn't have to be 100% native planting, but maybe it says, you know, what a design guide might look like or something like that. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Well, our current site plan bylaw encourages the use of native plants, and the low impact development bylaw requires the use of native plants.
Okay.
And I know on the planning board side, we require native plants on site, in site plan. And we get a ton of pushback, but I don't understand why there's so much pushback, other than it's just something new that people aren't used to. It's not like, you know, we are requiring gold instead of, you know, nickel or something. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. It's just something new. So there's a lot of
Yes, I
pushback.
didn't know that it was a requirement. So that was my point then. So
Which is what's the low impact one, Mimi?
Low impact development bylaw.
Yeah. Okay.
LID, as it's known, LID.
Okay. Now we're on recreation. There's still a couple of things I need to follow up with Kristen here. Oh, middle, yeah. So do you know where the data came from for this table? Because oh, it's the town of Southborough. Okay. I guess we need to follow up with Middle Road, because it's like there's nothing on here that actually it's not, we don't have any data on it. But so you're saying it's owned by the Faith School?
I think it's owned by Faith School, yeah.
I agree, Catherine. I believe that's what they're referencing there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's a soccer field, isn't it?
Yeah. And we worked with Faith School to install posts and markers along the trail near the footbridge, because they wanted to make sure people weren't they were staying on the trail and not, because it at one point splits off and looks like it's going into some of their properties. So
okay, so that is open space. I think we're in good shape on that one. A few tweaks. Let's do circulation next.
Mhm.
Where does the screen sharing? Okay, circulation and transportation. Oh, 120. Everyone see this? Okay.
How about you, Sam?
I can see it.
Okay, so this is again some wording tweaking. Sam particularly edited my Britishisms, as he referred to them.
Took out some whilsts and remits.
Whilst and limits.
You took out the wells.
The whilst, yes.
Whilst
I
Well-
left them. I thought they were fabulous.
I like them too, but given the crowd who's going to be reading this, that might be a little confusing. I don't know.
Well, you know, I do try and spell American now, so, you know, generally I'm okay with that.
COLOUR, I know. Yeah.
Sorry?
I say COLOUR is always my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I just as a very quick aside, I got into a very confusing conversation with my 24-year-old niece about, did she want a gift for Christmas or could I send her a check? And of course, in the UK, check is spelled CHEQU.
QUE. Yeah.
And I said, and so I'm writing check, as in how we say check. And she's like, a check what? Like a check sweater? Why do I want a check sweater? I'm like, okay, this is so confusing, so confusing.
Culture clash.
Exactly.
Judith, I tweet various people in Great Britain, and I run into all sorts of problems all the time. It's like there are two different languages we speak. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay. So Mimi, I just let us in that you said quite rightly, what does it mean? What's the potential for compact development? And I'm like, I have no idea. This is literally taken straight from the Smart Growth Plan, but I can just take out compact if you want. Because I don't know what it means, but like mixed use development, we can just leave it, oops, like that. So is that okay? Sam, you'd asked about the two apartment buildings proposed.
Yeah, that constructed the southwest quadrant of Route 9 and Oak Hill Road. That's where Walgreens is. So I was confused about apartment buildings going in there.
Well, isn't it? I thought there was like.
There are some
There's a
townhouses.
40B there.
Woodland Meadows is
Townhouses
behind
behind.
Walgreens, but that's
Yeah.
not really at the intersection. It's sort of offset there up on Oak Hill Road. But if that's what you're talking about, that's.
I think that's what it refers to. Okay, we'll propose it.
They're not proposed, they're built now.
Yep.
And they're not really apartment buildings. They're condo units. They're like, I don't know, 14 condo units going in there or something.
Okay.
Yep.
So we got to figure out exactly what it is and update it because it is now built there.
Okay.
Well, still in the process, I think. I don't think it's done yet.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've been down there.
I think there's one more building going in.
Okay, let me go back and I'll check on that one from the original plan.
That's the one that I was called all sorts of horrible names over. When I was on the
You
zoning
were?
board. I was on the zoning board at the time, and that guy was a challenge.
Oh, he was a peach, huh?
Oh, he was. Mhm. Sam, you don't know it, but he threatened to shoot you.
I'm not surprised.
Mhm.
Okay. So Sam, this February 2018 report, I mean, we could put a hyperlink into it, but it's already 3 years old. So, but I can put that in there.
Okay, I mean, generally speaking, I think the hyperlinks are helpful. If we refer to these things, then, you know, doesn't hurt to have them in. It's not critical, certainly. People can look it up themselves.
Oh, no, hyperlinks are critical. Did you just say they're not critical?
Well, I mean, they're helpful, but
They're
if
extremely
you got the name, you can Google it and find the stuff.
Easier
Ooh,
if it's a link now.
Hyperlink.
So nice.
So Sam, again, this is just you said, don't the various town departments maintain their own vehicles? Not according to the website, the DPW website. This
Oh,
is
I
it.
wondered about that too.
I thought maybe Lisa knows. I thought the police and fire folks maintain their own vehicles, not DPW, for example.
I know the DPW has a mechanic, Sam. I
Yeah,
don't know if I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I guess it would kind of make sense that he would do routine maintenance that would be required on the vehicles, but I don't know that for sure.
yeah, I don't either.
Karen. So, well, either the website is wrong or, well,
It's never happened before, so it's probably right.
okay, I can take that. So this is I've added in this little reference to the Public Works
Public
Planning.
Works Planning Board. That's a good ad.
That's good because
I don't know whether that's their charge. So I just recognized that it was missing from this section, so I thought it could be added. I think this is what they do, but I don't know. So Sam
No.
or someone would have to say that. Yeah, that's their charge.
That's the statutory charge.
Okay.
But in fact, in 2016, I think I sent somebody, maybe I sent you.
you
I
did,
sent
you sent
somebody
it
the
to
charge.
me. I thought I'd updated it, but
Yeah, that the vote by the select board in 2016 actually considerably narrowed that charge. So technically, the PWPB can do less. than-
How did the selectmen narrow the charge if it's,
They don't report to them.
yeah, they don't report to them?
But we're all powerful though, so.
I don't know about you,
don't-
Sam. I don't know that I agree with that.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't, were you on the board in 2016, Lisa?
Absolutely not. Thank you for asking, though.
I don't remember. But again, I mean, that's an interesting question. I'm just saying, I found that charge that was approved by the select board in 2016, which restricted that broader original charge.
That seems strange.
It
That's
does.
like the Board of Selectmen changing the charge for the Board of Health or something. It doesn't make any sense.
Restricting it, yeah. Yep. Question for town council, maybe.
okay, let's just hold that thought for a minute.
We can follow up on that, yeah.
I need to add in the PDF thing. So Debbie, you'd asked about if we have more recent data on the impact on these charts. We don't. This is all we've got at the moment. I mean, I guess we could look at the impact of working from home over the last.
It's probably too recent, I think, you know,
Yeah.
I put the question out there, but then it occurred that,
Yeah.
you know, it's probably too.
You know, I don't know. I mean, what's everyone's perspective on what's happening now? I mean, just anecdotally, I mean, I'm not sure there's that many people working from home anymore, certainly based on the amount of traffic that's going up and down like Route 9, but
Right, yeah.
I love the suggestion, but perhaps given the timing of this report coming out, can we allude to maybe that this will have an impact and that it should be, you know, looked at the next report, when the next report comes out, to see how things evolve as some way of addressing the good comment, but not holding up the process.
Yeah.
That would just be one.
suggestion.
That's a great idea, Catherine.
Yeah, I think people are still working from home, but the traffic, for whatever reason, is back to normal.
Or they're not working at home and driving around during the day.
Yeah.
okay, so I can do this one. So the global traffic study, I have to say, I know nothing about a global traffic study. So who do I talk to about that?
Oh, I
So-
think that was just voted at town meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Funding for it, yeah. But that was, the select board initiated that one in response to a number of questions about truck exclusions.
I mean, I think it's just part of the big picture, right? That instead of looking at just, you know, scenic roadways, that a larger plan is being, you know,
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Figured out to look at the flow through town.
So maybe, Sam, maybe you can help me with some wording or
Okay.
on this.
Yep.
And I will add a little bit more context into the scenic byways, Debbie, that there was a really, really detailed kind of statement about it in the 2008 plan. So wherever in general, we've not like repeated stuff like that was just kind of background information, but I take your point. It makes a bit more sense to add it in here, just another sentence or two. Okay, trends on MBTA ridership. I don't know. I mean,
I mean, even since it's been around, but I don't know. I just put that out as a comment. Did that ever come up in a survey? You know, are we using it? Are people from other towns coming over and using it? Has it increased over the years? I don't know. Maybe it's not, you know, kind of germane.
The parking lot's always full.
Yeah, and from people from other towns are using the parking lot allegedly.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. That's a deterrent is, I've heard that from a lot of people, is the parking lot is always full.
We've actually talked a little with Carolyn Dykman about double decking the parking lot, which is the T is sometimes interested in.
There was data in the 2008 report on ridership, but we didn't replicate that here. Okay, I guess I'll see if I can find. Okay. Right. Okay. This is the complete streets funding, and I think it's a really great idea, Debbie. How do I get that update? Because so just as a context, Debbie, when we reconfigured the master plan committee, we one of the two people that were working on this chapter are no longer on the committee. So I basically wrote this because we didn't have anyone to do it. So it's not my area of expertise for sure. So is this Karen Gallagher, Sam, Lisa, that?
Yeah. There's a plan on the DPW website that
and that's
shows
what
all the projects.
But Debbie's comment was 60 projects. Have we got?
Well, maybe that's too much detail. You know, I mean, 60 just jumped out, and I kind of thought like, wow, are they nearly done? Or are they in front of us? Are they funded? Does the town need to vote on them? Did the selectmen vote on it? So to me, it just added some questions there and kind of jumped out. I think it's the prioritization plan, so it's important, and maybe they go into buckets. I was just wondering what, you know, maybe it's interesting to have some information on it without it being overwhelming. Maybe not list every one of them, but maybe they go into kind of buckets and where we're at with them.
Yeah, I think that there is a list of, as it suggests, several dozen projects there. I think my understanding is the active one, particularly, is Cordoville Road, south of Route 9. There's engineering plans and apparently some money in the pipeline for that one. So that's the big one that's going to happen at some point in the near future, apparently. I don't recall that there's much else that's on the near-term radar screen out of that list just because of lack of funding. So I guess I don't think it's particularly worth listing a bunch of things that are not likely to happen versus maybe saying, you know, here are the ones that are pending, if you will, at this point.
Well, isn't the moving St. Mark Street, wasn't that a complete street?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And then the Deerfoot
Flag. Yeah.
flag,
The corner there. Yeah.
and then
Yep.
the downtown.
But we
The
just
remainder.
funded, I believe, the Deerfoot and Flag was just funded at one of this year's town meetings. I can't remember which one. I know through capital that we've talked about, and the Newton Street project, I believe, has been pushed off. That's a $2.5 million project. Porterville project is a $2.5 million project as well. I think funding obviously is key in some of these projects with Chapter 90 money, and grants as well. But I know as projects are coming up, Karen is vetting them based on kind of her thought process or time frame with capital, just so we're aware and we can put it on the 10-year capital plan.
So maybe a list of near-term projects off of that, just to say, here are the things that are happening, is informative.
Okay, I can do that. Okay. So this is just a placeholder to say that we moved individual accessibility for Sam's chapter.
Judith, I owe you a complete rewrite of that.
Okay.
Individual accessibility, you're talking about the ADA committee there in that particular case, and there is no ADA committee anymore. We actually have an SPAC committee or SPA committee. There are 11 laws rather than or in addition to ADA laws that we have to be concerned about now. And we deal with not only public and commercial buildings, but public, that is government buildings as well as commercial buildings. But we also deal with school buildings, et cetera, with respect to this sort of stuff. So I think it probably merits a bit of a rewrite on that particular section, and I'll supply that to you.
Okay.
And Bill, I actually
Progress
did it.
being what it is.
I did a pass at that myself, not as complete as you can do it, certainly, but just to get something down on paper so Judith can forward that to you to maybe as a starting point.
Oh, that might be good, and then we can wordsmith the whole thing together. Because I think there are, even some of our objectives that we have here with respect to establishing, a larger charter for the ADA committee, that's already been done. We wrote this some time ago, and we've made progress irrespective of what we're doing here. So time has passed, and we'll make some notes and changes to the verbiage here.
And I did try to recognize that in what I wrote, but you can do a better job of it, I'm sure. So,
all right, if she could
have at it.
Outstanding.
Okay. Where are we now? Recommendations. Sam, you said possible truck exclusions on specific roads.
It's again, back to the global traffic study thing. That's something that could come out of that process.
Oh, okay. So, another example, we just got to get this finished because then we can, otherwise we're going to spend the next 2 years keeping updating this.
Yep.
Seeking federal funding for electric charging stations.
A lot of federal money out there for electric vehicle support, and I think
okay.
that would be I think a good opportunity for grant funding.
Okay. Okay. Debbie, you were saying,
just thinking along the same, I was thinking, I'm not sure how the committee feels about, or if it's not my say, but the thing I was thinking about is when we have a new development out my window, I can see Madison Place. I give this as an example. And I think no one has an electric car up there because there's probably not an electric, charging station. So can we maybe set, and somebody might want an electric car vehicle. So could we make a recommendation that there should be some sort of a percentage, maybe the new developments that come into town? I don't know if there's going to be any, or municipal parking, or even, you know, commercial industrial parking, that they should have some percentage that are, you know, for electric vehicle use.
I think that's a goal in the, or a recommendation in the land use and zoning to amend site plan to require parking, charging for electric vehicles under site plan review.
Great.
That is true. I've forgotten about that one, Mimi. Good catch.
Judith, I think my next one was just a little bit of wordsmithing. I didn't understand like the word valid, but I think you might have.
It is the case. I mean, it's still in effect. Again, they've been classified by vote of town meeting as scenic roads, and nothing's going to change that unless town meeting votes again to change that status.
Oh, okay.
So that was
Let me just
I don't know,
review that.
45 years ago or something like that. So they've only gotten more scenic in that time, I guess.
Okay, and then
Except for the tree removal part.
That's less scenic. That's right.
okay, so then this goes back to the point we were making before about public works.
Yeah, I didn't know that they did not report to the select board, so I was thinking along the lines that you guys were just talking about, that they,
Yep.
you know, should be accountable to someone, and get back, you know, to meeting regularly or something, or dissolve. I mean, frankly, like maybe they have a different charge or not. That's the only reason I put that there. I wasn't aware that they were, you know.
So let's
reporting to
do
the select board.
review recommendation.
I think there's a lot they could do, but
with
Yeah, I was thinking that, Sam. I mean, maybe there's other things that, you know, well, and not if the purview was, you know, made.
reduced.
made
Not if the
smaller,
purview
but,
is legally reduced.
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, if we review the recommendations with them, maybe that'll trigger this conversation about, well, why can't you do it? Because we
don't want to.
perfect. We
Simple.
don't want to. It's like, well, then I think that'll trigger. Okay, just hang on a sec, because I need to save this as a different. Okay. Excuse me. Let's set it. No.
It's actually an interesting concept on the Public Works Planning Board, Lisa. I didn't realize we had the power to restrict the charters of any state authorized committees in town. So maybe we ought to try that in more cases.
It's an interesting concept, huh?
Yeah, it apparently worked this one, so let's try it again.
So let's talk about housing. So I know, Tom, you've got some updates.
I just emailed it to you, Judith. It's really down in the goals section.
Yeah,
at the
I
bottom.
can, since it's in a Word document, I can probably share that one pretty successfully.
Okay.
All right. Let me just share this one though. So
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
so there's a couple of things. I think there's the recommendations that we can look at that have come back from Tom and the Shopsy. We also have new data now for housing, or new data that was in the housing chapter, particularly relating to population and demographics. So we do need to get that updated into this version. I didn't incorporate any of those new charts and tables in
Sure.
here, because I felt it was just going to get so confusing.
No, I will take the charge to do that. I just got them today, so let me look
Okay.
at them and see what we can replace.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, though, we might pare it down some too, depending on what the new data elements are.
Okay, so you'll see a number of comments from me relating to that in this
Okay.
Tom, and I can send you this version after the meeting. And kind of my bad, I know I looked at this chapter a long time ago because yours was the first to be finished. And I remember thinking at the time, when we get the new 2020 data, I must say, remember to talk to Tom and Sarah about maybe having the data a little bit more targeted
Sure.
to actually help with the narrative. And then I completely forgot to do it. So it looks like there's a lot of kind of Judith's red pen here, and it's not intended to be critical. It's just that I'd capture the comments as we went. So
That's fine. That's fine. So with that in mind, I don't want to waste people's time. Is there any particular things that we should go through here before?
no, I think most of
create
I think these are comments that you guys can pick up separately.
Okay.
Sure.
I have an update on one of the charts. There was an empty spot on subdivisions on Deerfoot's estates, like when it was and how many housing units. I looked that up. So that can get filled in.
Okay.
Now, what do you consider Deerfoot Estates? Is it down, the houses along by the
By the
South
vet?
Okay.
Yeah.
So should we look at here we go. Housing chat. Let me stop sharing this.
Yeah, I just did it Tom M at the end. And like I said, well, let's review the goals. That was one of the things I was not at the last meeting, but I know Sarah let me know about some of the goals, and we did change it. We finally had a ShopC meeting. We haven't had one in a couple of months due to conflicts. So we finally had one on Monday morning.
Okay.
Finally came before the master plan meeting.
I know, finally. I
All
mean,
right,
I
I
could
have to
share
say,
it.
sorry, Catherine, your fur baby is beautiful. I just have to say it.
Now, do you walk that cat on the trails?
Right?
No, thank you. She hasn't seen me all day, so she needs some tea.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
I can't see her. Show me. Oh my gosh.
And I have a black and white one, but she's a little shy.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute because my laptop's about to die. Just give me 1 minute.
If you want, Sarah can
I
share it.
can share it.
You have
Yeah.
it? Okay,
Yeah,
that
not
would
to
be
worry.
better. Sorry, I'm like,
No, that's okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
perfect.
Great.
Yep.
Perfect.
So
Go ahead, Tom.
I was gonna say, we talked about this today, and that fifth goal, if you remember, was about moderate affordable housing. And we thought that wasn't, part of itself was not a goal, but it was part of other goals. So if you remember, one of them was to do an inventory of the number of units that considered moderate affordable. So we put some word around that. So our goal here is to create a diverse housing. And we added this bullet 2.3. So let's inventory the number of units that are deemed moderately affordable. And this is, Sarah, I'm going to lead on you for the technical aspect of it. It's 80% to 110% of your average median
Area
income.
median income. Area
Thank you.
median income. You got it.
So this is more of an informational thing to find out how much of the town is what we consider moderately affordable. People's definition of moderately affordable is probably going to vary, and that's why that AMI is important. So they have context around that. And then we added a goal for maintaining housing that they can afford as a goal. And this is, I kind of struggle with the wording. If people are happy with the wording, I'm happy. What we wanted to, and again, this is Tom Marcuya speaking. I don't think ShopC should be, the goal of ShopC and affordable housing should not be, our goal is 10%. to do the 40B. Our goal is to always find affordable housing.
Right.
So that's why I kind of like put in the parentheses, achieve at a minimum 10% affordable housing to obtain 40B safe haven status. I didn't want to say that we're going to stop at 10%. That's why we kind of like, you know, Sarah and I was debating around some language. And we stuck it at a minimum. So that says we want to get there, but we want to go past that 10% if possible.
And Tom, it's safe harbor, HARBOR technically,
Oh, thank you.
minor detail. And that's without a U. Judith.
Haba, is that how you pronounce it, Sam? Haba.
I think Judith will edit that. So,
There's no R in Haba.
Abba.
So we took away goal number 5 and we inserted it into goals 2 and 4 and added that 4.3 for maintaining affordable housing or housing that they can afford. I don't want to distinguish the two, but it's like some people can afford up to an X amount, and I don't want to confuse those wordings with affordable housing.
Right.
Right, and that's a specific number between 80 and
Yes.
110%.
Yeah, that, you know, because moderate affordable housing is defined by HUD, you know, and so that's why we put that range there, because that's the HUD definition of the range. And again, it's, you know, the inventory is to hope to sort of take a snapshot of what the natural market is doing in Southborough, how much capacity is there for people who are earning, you know, in that range. And, you know, my sense is that it's sort of, you know, dwindling. And so it will be important to either try to increase deed restriction or work with developers who, you know, are at least willing to, you know, sell some units, you know, within that price range or create smaller units in order to keep those costs down for folks.
Any thoughts? Input?
Angry
Good
outbursts?
stuff.
Tom, I was participated in a Massachusetts Area Planning Council meeting here a month or so ago. I understand they're trying to create a strategic spending plan for affordable housing, for the Affordable Housing Fund, the AHTF. Is that something that belongs as either a goal or objective of some kind in this particular plan?
So that's some kind of state government dictating that. Should it be picked up by SHOPSI? Absolutely. Should it be a master plan goal? Those things could change over time. I think, I'm assuming that one of our goals is the byproduct if something like that got funded. So to be a specific goal of a specific funding, I don't know how relevant that is.
Well, but my understanding was that it was designed to, how shall we put it, to allow the expenditures of certain funds on affordable housing that the city had accrued. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're talking about the 5-year strategic plan that MAPC is helping to write.
I am, yeah.
The event, yeah. So, you know, that is actually in here under 1.3.
I see. I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, not to worry.
Any other suggestions, input?
Not on the goals and objectives, but I do have information to complete that chart.
Okay, Judith, you want to go up to that chart she's talking about? Now, is this updated in the stuff that we just got, Sarah, or is this a different chart?
It was a chart of subdivisions
about?
since 2008.
Oh,
And
okay.
there was There was a blank spot on Deerfoot Estates.
I must have went past it. No, no, here it is.
Yep.
Here it is. There we go.
So the date approved was January 2013. Oh, I don't have a date.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, I won. And it was 8 single-family lots. Was the subdivision, but the interesting thing is then they came back and did 2 A&Rs. So it was actually 10 single-family lots.
So should we say 10 single-family
Can we
lots,
say
2
10?
AMR?
Yeah, does that work?
Yeah, so technically it wasn't,
Approved
subdivision
one.
wasn't, because then it would have triggered an affordable. So they pulled a sneaky and did 8 and then 2 A&Rs.
It's awful.
Well, how do we want to say that?
Thanks for getting that, Mimi. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Do
no
we still
problem.
want to say 10 single-family lots, 2 AMR?
I could write it up either way. Do you want me to write it up as 8 single family lots and 2 A&Rs?
Yes.
I don't- If you're just trying to get the number of units that were created, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I guess
I
you're
think
right.
10's the right number, yeah.
Great.
That's my input on that.
Thank you.
You've earned your pay for the night.
And I didn't get the date. I wonder if I have that.
It's only been what, 9 years ago, 10 years ago,
Right.
almost 10, almost 9. All right, so I will, for the next meeting, this will be rewritten with the updated data. And Judith, I will correspond with you directly when that's happening.
Sorry, I'm muted. I muted and took my video off because I am eating.
Don't blame you. I did that earlier
All
too.
right.
All right, so was that and anything else on those 3 chapters?
Isn't that enough?
That was it.
That was a lot of good, that's a lot of good work there.
Good stuff, yeah.
Oh, so the next thing that I wanted the opinion of the committee on was the land use and zoning chapter. In 2008, they did this very in-depth, detailed build-out analysis, and we're not doing that this time. And the consultant did a very rudimentary build out, like not really in depth. And I'm wondering if it's even worth putting anything in there. Because I find, my opinion, I find build out analyses to be interesting, but usually wrong. Like, I think the build out from 2008, we've already passed that population figure 10 years later. So there's raw data that was given from our consultant, and we could try and have, like, we have a new planning board assistant. We could try and see if she can, figure out something from there, but I don't even know if it's worth it.
I think it's interesting conceptually, at least, and maybe if we could say something that maybe is not quite as quantitative, but more qualitative, to say, we thought 10 years ago we were at this position, and so we are clearly, farther along that track, and since that time, it appears that we've, grown more or less or whatever. But I think the overall picture is that we're probably not going to go to 20,000 people in population, certainly. And so you got to sort of, I think, set the
Maybe.
general frame. Unlikely, I would think, but you never know. But when we did the thing way back in the original Zach stuff, we had a build out that said there were like 800, 900 buildable lots left, and depending on how densely you could pack that, you could get like 3,000 residential units out of it, which would be crazy. So, I mean, those kind of parameters, I think, are interesting to at least try to set some boundaries with, as opposed to having people wonder, can we double the town's population easily in the next 10 years if we could find money to build the housing for it? I don't think we could very easily, but.
So what we have now, Roberta looked at what vacant lots there were and what underdeveloped lots were left. Is that enough data to just write a blurb on?
Yeah, I think that's pretty
I
interesting.
think
Yeah.
so.
Okay, all right.
What is the number? How are we relative to the 800 or so we thought 15 years ago now?
That would require a memory, and I don't have one of those. I don't remember what it said.
But useful number if we have it, I think. So,
Yeah, we have something.
good.
So I'll put something in. But we don't need to try and duplicate what was done before.
I think you're right. It's hard to do that sufficiently accurately because you always wind up being surprised at how much stuff a developer can fit on a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hard to know exactly. I mean, look at the one Sears Road. What would you qualify that as? How would you count that? Would you put 4 houses on that property? I don't know.
yeah, so that would come under like the underdeveloped
Right,
lots.
yeah.
But would it actually show up because it was part of that other house's one whole estate?
It would. There's potential for more buildable lots by subdividing the property. So and it's got sufficient frontage to do all of that. I mean, as always, they're very clever about how they slice those up in ways to maximize the number of houses you could put.
So I don't know if what Roberta did looked at frontage. She may have just looked at lot size.
About acreage, yeah.
Well, wouldn't we want to find out how much fits the current zoning, frontage and lot size? Because if you don't have the frontage but have the lot size, you can't build. If I
That's right.
understand.
Yeah, you need to understand both, certainly.
Right. So I think it has to have both to be a buildable.
But even if you don't have the detail, just using the lot size, and you may overstate some for lots that you don't have frontage for, but at least it gives you a pretty good ballpark idea
True.
what you're doing without having to go into the assessor maps and calculate the frontage stuff.
Because I think we did it for Shopsy to find out how many parcels around that we can actually do for affordable housing. There wasn't that many, was there? I don't remember being a great number.
I don't think so.
No.
All right. So I'll come up with something on that. I'll make something up.
Good.
50%.
Should we approve the minutes?
Tom's obviously got a beer somewhere.
Is it beer o'clock now?
So so we have all of our data has been updated
Nice.
as far as I know. I don't think no one's still waiting for anything, are they? Okay.
Sam, are you still waiting for data?
I think just that one chart that you were looking for, Mimi, that, 2-1.
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Just the more
kind of the-
detail.
Kind
Yeah.
of over time snapshot, but other than that, that's just the one kind of outstanding.
Okay. And then homework for the next meeting. What were the chapters we wanted to look at for the next meeting?
So Sam, are you ready for your chapter to be shared, or do you want me to look at it first, or?
I think it's worth, I got a couple of things I need to fill in, but I think we can certainly do it in time for the next meeting. So I guess I would not circulate it right yet, but it's close. So let's put it on for next meeting.
Okay, so the chapter that we can get out, I just have to do some restructure, is the community, what do we call it? Community historical and cultural resources, otherwise known as sense of community. That one, I just have to restructure it a bit because we took out the downtown initiative and put it into the economic development. I need to follow up with Julie and see how she's doing on getting updates to the economic development chapter. I mean, if it's close, I'd like to put that out there because that kind of fits with the community chapter. Was that a no?
I think that was a sneeze.
That's right.
I'm sorry, that was a cough.
What else have we got? So land use, Mimi,
Yep.
are you close? I mean, we don't have
Yeah.
to get out there this week, but you know, before the next meeting would be.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so let's see if we can focus on those three, and then there's just Sam's chapter, which is a big one to come.
Okay.
So I'll coordinate with everyone. Oh, I
Okay.
can put the vision chapter out there. Although let me put the vision chapter back out there as well. So that'll give us 4. The vision chapter is pretty short, so.
So then that would be only Sam's chapter left after that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we may get this done before we have to reappoint the committee.
Amazing.
We are getting this done before we're reappointed. That is not questionable, Mimi. That is.
Or I'll be doing it all myself. All right. Any other business?
Did we do the minutes?
Nope, that's the next approval
Okay.
of minutes. Did everyone have a chance to read the November 17th minutes?
It's posted.
I know I just had Kate remove the beginning where it said that I read the preamble and the whole preamble thing in there because I don't.
Yeah, she's amazing how she captures that stuff, you know.
Great job.
All right, so do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from November 17th?
So moved.
Second?
Very
Aye.
good.
Just kidding.
Roll call.
And
Vote.
roll call vote. I can't, let me just, there we go. Signs,
Aye.
Stivers,
Aye.
McKee,
Aye.
Marklear,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
and Braccio.
Aye.
Very good.
Is
And
Latrell
then
aye?
we need a date for the next meeting.
Did we get a
did.
Latrell aye for that vote?
Oh, Latrell, I always forget me. Thank you. Sorry about that.
We need you for quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have dates in the calendar for next year.
We don't.
No.
How's Wednesday, the 12th
Good for me.
of January?
Mm,
Good for me.
Okay, here.
Good here.
Good, good.
Very good.
Let's go for it.
The 12th it is.
Thanks, Kat.
Is,
Hopefully I'll have to set a reminder in my phone so I post the meeting. Thanks to Judith. I almost forgot to post it this time.
We caught it.
Very
Well,
good.
Okay.
Well, happy
Good
holidays,
discussion.
everyone.
Do I have an
Oh,
emotion
yeah.
to adjourn?
So move.
In
Second.
second? Signs,
Aye.
Stivers,
Aye.
McKee,
Aye.
Markleer,
Aye.
Watson,
Aye.
Braccio,
Aye.
and Latrell. Aye. Very good. Thank you very much, everyone.
Happy holidays,
Happy